welcome back to another episode of Soccer Supernova with me, Amy Canavan, the dedicated football chat show from A State of Mind. Today I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by the current Queen of the South captain, Gregor Buchanan. Gregor, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm pleasure to be here. Vice captain. I'm not going to take that away from the club legend Stephen Dobie, or you'd be on me training for that.
Absolutely, just set you up there. Good start, Amy. How have you found lockdown?
It's been different. It's just one of the things I was speaking about earlier in terms of we've been really lucky in terms of the way we've still been able to play and train, and a lot of clubs have obviously not been just as lucky. League 1 and League 2 have had quite a long period off, and then they were back to mad fixture rush just for the last few months. So in that extent we've been really lucky, and it's been really enjoyable playing. It's been different. The kind of stadiums and such with no fans has definitely been a kind of different season, and we're probably missing a wee bit of that edge and that kind of madness on a Saturday that comes for the kind of terraces. But overall it's been enjoyable just to kind of being lucky enough to play.
How much have the players really felt it? Obviously the media, they talk it up saying how much obviously the fans make an influence, but how much do the players actually feel it when you're on the park?
Oh, it's a massive thing, especially like when the whistle blows and you get a bit off them, and sometimes that can be that 5-10 extra % that you need on a Saturday. So we have been, it's going to got that friendly factor when you go out and there's no kind of jeers and cheers, any kind of big moments of the game. It's just kind of like coming from the park and the management team and stuff at the side. So that has been a big factor that they've definitely been missed, and as I said, we'll probably never take it for that the fans like not being there again.
Absolutely, and obviously we'll talk about the whole stretch of your career. So going right back to the beginning, were you that fan in the stands wanting to be a footballer growing up?
Absolutely, it's kind of the only thing I ever kind of wanted to do. At one point, I probably thought it was the dream was kind of going, and obviously I was growing in age, and I was lucky enough. Like my dad was heavily involved in football, so most weekends consisted of me going to football, watching. So as I said, it's always been a big part of my life. In terms of that fan side, I used to go and watch games. I would go to like any football ground just to kind of watch a game. But growing up, as I said, I would watch any club my dad was associated with, and then on with that, I was a season ticket at Falkirk and things like that. And as I said, it's been a massive part of my life.
Obviously, growing up in Falkirk, season ticket holder at Falkirk, then you were in the youth setup at Falkirk. How did that all come around and really getting to be a part of your boyhood club?
It was just like I was playing boys club as you kind of all start out, and I had just kind of got the call that Falkirk were hoping to sign me at a kind of young age, and I was there for a number of years. And obviously it's when you're living in Falkirk, it seemed like the perfect kind of place to be. And as I said, I was lucky enough to kind of be there in the youth setup. It never kind of went to plan, but it's probably the kind of bashes along the road that maybe set me up for a career in football. So I wouldn't ever change it now. Obviously at the time I was kind of thinking, oh, where's my career going, when I was getting released at a kind of young age and stuff. So there was that kind of difficult side, but as I said, it's probably set me up for the career I've had.
How difficult was that? Obviously, like you say, you get released from your boyhood club at such a young age. How does it all feel like this isn't the career for me, it's just not going to work out?
I think it's that kind of that age of like 16. I think it's fair to say you can kind of go either way with your football. I kind of kept my head down, and I had to take kind of some backward steps going back to boys club, and as I said, I was still 19 playing boys club, and I was thinking that this is probably running out of time. And then obviously I made the kind of move to the junior game, and that was probably the biggest life kind of lesson that I had to pull my kind of socks up and get on with it. And as I said, at 22, it was the first time I actually made a professional appearance. So like between that kind of 6-year period, I was kind of thinking that I was probably running out of time here. And but as I said, I've kind of had to go the long way round, but I managed to get there.
Absolutely. So during that time, obviously, you touched upon the junior game. You're at Armadale Thistle and Bathgate Thistle. Do you think you maybe used too much of that time maybe worrying about your career, or did you try and learn as much as you can to then eventually obviously get that contract?
I probably didn't have enough time to kind of think about it in terms of like this was like men's football. This was like no messing about stuff, and I was probably one of the youngest kind of junior players at the time, because it's always kind of been renowned for kind of like ex-pros or people that kind of had jobs that maybe didn't want to commit to the professional game. And as I said, I was like 19 years old. I joined the Armadale at the time, and I kind of was first training session. I thought, oh, I'll just go and do my thing. Next, I came home and I was like, wow, like what have I just signed up for? But that was like real life football, which just probably taught me well in the long run.
Do you think that's something maybe that should be a little bit pushed more now to youngsters? Obviously, you see them all come through the academies and whatnot, would maybe be from an earlier age, getting into that, like you say, men's football, real football, set them up in a little bit better stead.
Absolutely, I think that's been a big part of the game that's missing. I mean, you can see boys who are lucky to be at maybe Rangers, Celtic, things like that, but they get to 22 and they've not had any kind of real football. They've kind of played their under-20s and reserve football, but to be honest, that's miles away from even the junior football. That was a big life lesson for me, and there was no, like, you couldn't mess about there. Like there was boys on you, and you had to be on your game like every week.
Was it scouts at the junior football that then picked you up, or?
It was actually quite a strange one, because it was my dad actually worked with a guy, Alan Lawrence, who was Hearts legend, and he was at a game. He was actually at Bathgate previously, and then he had went to Airdrie. So he was at the game and kind of like bumped into my dad and said, "Is that actually your boy that's playing?" We were in watching him. And then like quick as that, like he kind of got me at Airdrie, and I was in on trial and stuff, and just like wee bits of luck that you probably need in football. But as I said, Nipper like had me in training right away, and luckily enough I'd managed to do enough to kind of get the deal.
Did you feel you were ready at that stage?
I probably didn't know if I was ready. I just was like, this is the kind of moment I've been waiting on, and to put it lightly, like it was a Tuesday. They'd said, right, you need to come and train. We've got a bounce game between all the players. So I went in the Tuesday, like trained and stuff, and done the game, and I'd came out it okay. And he was like, right, come back Thursday. And I was thinking, I just need to keep going at this. But actually, like on that Friday, I was meant to be going to Ibiza with my mates, and like that's all my mates could think about, and that's all I could think about. And I was thinking, right, hopefully, like I get this deal, and he'll be all right if I'm able to go. So it got to the Thursday night, we played like an hour kind of bounce game, and he said, like, you've done really well. We've got like a kind of wee Glasgow tournament that's going on this weekend. It's at Partick Thistle. So and they were like, we want to take you, and we're going to judge you on that. So it was basically Partick, Airdrie, like Celtic kind of youth side, reserve kind of team, and Everton had came up to the game. So we were playing Everton on the Saturday and then Celtic on the Sunday. So I was like, right, what am I going to do? So obviously I'm meant to go to Ibiza tomorrow. So I was just like, right, I'm going to take this chance, like one chance in life maybe I might get. So I just kind of didn't show up at the airport for my mates, so I just went to Ibiza. I was like, I'm just going to go this weekend, try and focus on the football. I didn't actually play the game. We played Everton on the Saturday. I didn't actually play, but I was at the side and I was like, wow, this is like well and above what I've been used to. Even like the guy like Ross Barkley and stuff played, like they actually played, and then I played on the Sunday. So it was like Saturday night in your house by yourself, just like all my mates are in Ibiza, and I'm just like, I need to do this tomorrow, because I was kind of told on the Saturday night, like, you're playing tomorrow, this is your chance. So I turned up to the game, played, and I actually done pretty well, and they made me play actually right back, which wasn't a kind of normal kind of position for me. So I was like, oh, this is the worst news. I didn't want to be playing there. But as I said, everything went kind of well, and then I got like the contract, and like Ibiza, I was like, throw it aside, I'm not really bothered about that anymore. This is what I've been like waiting my whole life for. So it worked out well in the end.
How'd your pals take it?
To be fair, like I was like, oh, they're going to give me it tight. I was expecting like pure abuse in the group chat, but no, all the boys were like, oh, like this is your moment, like go for it. And I mind kind of texting on a Sunday night saying like, look, they've offered me a contract, and like they were buzzing and that, even though they were not Ibiza. I was kind of like, a wee bit jealous, but nah, they were great with me. And to be fair, they've been great throughout my career. They've always kind of rooted for me anywhere I was. So no, it was like massive respect to them for that.
Talk about coming up against Ross Barkley, and what were the players like at Celtic at that time? Was it that sort of, wow, this is where I'm meant to be.
To an extent, though, obviously it was kind of younger generation going through, but there was some big players. I remember like Tony Watt, like people that had obviously done well at Celtic. They all kind of played, and I just like it was a tough game. It was a tough match for me. But I think they made Celtic maybe edged it like 2-1 on the day. I can't actually remember the score fully, but no, it was like I kind of just thought like if I'm going to give this my all, and as I said, I'd waited till I was 22, so I didn't want to have any regrets, and I just kind of thought this is for me.
So obviously you signed for Airdrie. That's it. You're a footballer now. How does it feel that first day walking into training as a footballer?
No, as I said, that kind of week was just like that manic. I just kind of thought like I need to give myself everything here, every chance. I kind of knew I was probably not like signed as a first choice like defender and stuff like that. Like at the time, I just thought I was just going to have to work hard and get in. And to be fair, like I was lucky in the aspect that I needed that wee bit of luck that we had a couple of injuries and stuff. And before I knew it, I was like playing, and I was playing regularly. And I just kind of thought like just keep your head down. And I'd only signed like a kind of 1 year deal and like minimum kind of wages and stuff, but like that wasn't an aspect for me. I was just kind of like I need to just get my foot in the door. And within a couple of months, I'd signed like a 2 year deal with the club, and I kind of thought, right, I've done enough to kind of get to this point. Now it's time for like kick on.
What was the competitiveness in the division at that stage?
Well, it was kind of weird because I signed on at that weekend, and then like later that week, the whole fiasco with Rangers obviously happened. So we were in like League One, well Division 2, League One at the time, and Airdrie the season prior they got beaten in the playoff final. So like news was kind of working that everything had happened at Rangers and they're getting demoted to the bottom division and stuff. And then like next thing we got a text through, it was like we're playing in like Division 1, which is now obviously the Championship. We've been promoted. I was thinking, I haven't even kicked the ball and I've been promoted here. So I was like, right, we've already like we're bringing it up a notch already. Like so I've obviously went in like signed as this player, but literally the season was starting the next again week. And that was actually a kind of difficult time for Airdrie because like we had went from like setting up a League One side to next thing is we need to get like a couple more boys in that Championship ready because that's like a tough league. So we're like it was a mad week. I could actually feel the stress in the manager thinking like we need to be ready for this kind of starting in a week's time, and it was just kind of mad week that.
It's a crazy sort of time, everything that happened back then in the Championship. Even at that stage, the level was extremely high. How much did you feel it when you were on the pitch that obviously you went totally from junior football, and that's an even bigger jump now because you're jumping, as you say, to the Championship level, something that you weren't quite expecting?
I like when you kind of like seen the teams in the Championship list, I was like, geez, we're going to be like, we knew it was going to be a difficult task. But the first couple of games we'd actually started, we'd like won the first 2 games. It was 6 points out of 6, and like it was that way. Like even the boys in the dressing room, I was like, what is going on here? Is this meant to happen? Like we're meant to be the whipping boys here. But obviously it did get more difficult as the weeks go on. Like the teams kind of, as you find in the Championship, start to get a bit of momentum and get going, and we found it really difficult. But like my personal point of view was just like I just need to stay in this team and just keep working hard. And I like, although there was a good few weeks we were getting beat, it was just like I need to just do everything to kind of make sure I'm playing that next week. And selfish as it sounds, that's kind of as a footballer what you've got to do at times because it was a difficult season, and obviously we were expected to go down, and in the end we did so, but we did put up a fight.
How hard is it, as you said, obviously you do have to be selfish, and it's your first real season, and you need to make a stamp, but you can see the club and the team around you a little bit demoralised. But how important but how tricky is that to like really put yourself forward first and just put in your best performance?
I think I probably learned that like a bit at a younger age. I was maybe no quite vocal enough, and I had seen boys at like 15, 16 that were really confident in themselves, and I maybe didn't have that kind of side, and I kind of like remembered that and kind of used that like inside me just to go, right, I need to be like a bit more selfish and a bit more like just out there and make sure that I'm the one getting picked each week. And to be fair, that was the kind of part of me that I probably learned from a young age and like had to bring into like when I knew like if I got that break, I've got to like take that on my side.
How was the mood around the camp? Obviously, like you said, the relegation that eventually all come around.
I think it was kind of like on the cards for a few weeks. Like we kind of knew that we were struggling, but in terms of like Airdrie, they've got a decent backing and stuff, and even though they knew probably deep down that this is going to be a difficult season, they were still expecting us to win games and stuff. So in that side of it, it's difficult. There was still a lot of like expectation on us to win, and as I said, we were coming up against right good sides, and there was a few like really sore weeks where you were maybe taking a bit of thumping. But as I said, like overall, it was just like on a selfish side, like getting a team, do your bit, and like and just make sure that you're there kind of next season again, and the managerial team wanted you.
So obviously you go from that whipping boy sort of status, and then the relegation comes, and then so going down to League One, then you're one of the bigger guns again, and obviously it's always the same that if you go down you're expected to come right back up. So what's the change in pressure like?
It was definitely different in terms of because we didn't start the season well at all. We had brought in basically like a full new side, and it didn't go too well at the start. The manager ended up like getting relieved these duties and stuff, so there was like a massive change like early on, even though it was like a new season. So right up to Christmas we had a difficult period, like we didn't have many points on the board, and it was that kind of aspect that we were expected to kind of be in that kind of top four minimum, and we were well short of it. And to be fair, Gary Bowen, his staff came in, and like it was a big turnaround. It just like added a couple of players, and just we started getting a couple of wins, and we ended up going like an extraordinary run, and we actually had like Rangers in the league that year because they had came up for the bottom division. And to be fair, it was like there was special games against them. Like I actually remember like we played there at Airdrie, and the first early on in the season we got like a right doing. It was like 6-0, and like it was like a carnival Friday night atmosphere. Like the Rangers fans were absolutely buzzing, and that was like a hard hit. And then later on in the season we'd got beat like 1-0, which was like a massive swing in like where we were and where we were at the end of the season. So we ended up like kind of going mid-table by the end of it, but obviously like from a side point of view we were in a dark place at the start of the season.
I was just going to touch upon those Rangers games. What's it like facing a side that, as you know, should not be in that sort of league that they were in at the time, but still, even at that stage, having players of real experience?
Aye, absolutely. It was just that from where I had came in the last couple of seasons, like I was generally playing in front of two guys in their dug at the junior park, and next thing, like as I said, it was a Friday night. It was one of the first games of the season. We played Rangers at Airdrie, and they literally had like 3.5 of the stands. It was on the TV and stuff, and we kind of go out, and I was like, wow, this is like going to be like top notch. This, and there was like literally flares. They were singing, they were chatting, and they scored like a couple of early goals, and like I literally couldn't help like hear myself think, and I was like, this is like crazy stuff for like where I've came from in the last couple of years. But as I said, they had like really good players at the time as well, like probably playing for the club at a division they shouldn't really been in. But it was some mad games, and even though I went to like going to Ibrox and stuff, like I wasn't really used to kind of stadiums like that. And then the first couple of times going there, I was just like, it was magical from my point of view in terms of like this is like boyhood dream, getting to come and play here. And as I say, we had a couple of good outings, and even though we might not have won the games, it was like magic experiences for me.
As you said, there was a total and utter real revamp of the squad that season. You'd only been there for a year, but did you already feel that all these new guys were coming in, that you were one of the more, perhaps not experienced, but you were more of a mainstay? You were one of the longest serving sort of players in that.
Because like there was that much a change that season, like there was just boys coming in like right over the summer, and I was like, this is like a full revamp. So I was like kind of one of the more kind of regulars from the season before, and like my kind of opinion hadn't changed. I just had to make sure that I was still playing every week, and it's that kind of selfish way. And I was like adding goals to my games and stuff like that. It was actually like getting me kind of touted for a move, and as I say, but my week to week kind of concept was just to make sure I stay in this team and get playing every week, because I was still at this point like I'm just buzzing to be playing. Even though I was like a couple of years in, I was just like I just want to play at this kind of level and keep going. So to start getting like that wee bit of interest and stuff like that was keeping me going.
As you said, obviously vice captain, the Queen of the South. Was it from that early stage, perhaps at Airdrie, as you say, one of the mainstays even after only a season, that those leadership qualities perhaps really did start to shine through.
I'd probably say so. Even like I got like that in that kind of junior game as well experience where I was playing with like men and they were expecting me to look after myself, look after the team. And to be fair, as I said, I was only 19 at the time, 20. So I had boys, to be fair, that would look after me on a Saturday in terms of if there was any kind of meaty challenges. There was like even at the Armadale days, we had some like madmen that would well and truly look after you. And so I had that kind of maybe not swagger, but I knew that I was never in any bother. That I could give my all and give a bit back on a Saturday, even though I was a kind of younger. So I think that kind of once again like kind of set me up for that kind of role that I've had at teams.
You see this, you added goals to your game towards the end of your time at Airdrie, and that is probably, or as well as your all-round performance, is what contributed obviously to that move away to Dunfermline again. Sort of as we're talking about with Rangers, in a league at that time that they really probably shouldn't have been in.
It was kind of mad how it all kind of turned out because like I kind of got wind of it kind of happening. So there was a couple of games left in the season for Dunfermline because they were in the playoffs, and I was kind of thinking like, so they were in League One at the time, and I was like, I hope like the deal was basically done, but they just wanted to kind of see these games out. So they had the chance of actually going up to the Championship, but they actually got beat against Cowdenbeath in like the kind of final. So like I wasn't even there yet, and I was already a wee bit gutted because obviously I would have went to them even in the Championship. So as I said, we kind of knew that club size Dunfermline shouldn't have been near the kind of leagues, but that's just how sometimes football works. And they had a wee bit of kind of money problems and stuff like that previously in the past, and that's maybe why they've ended up there. But in terms of it was like a sleeping giant when I went to the club. I was like, wow, this is a big club. And I was obviously, as soon as like I got word like that you might be going there, even though I was like Falkirk boy and there's a big rivalry with them, I was like, nah, this is where I'm going. I like the decision was made like within minutes.
What is that like? Obviously, as you see, you're aware that there's interest, and you're aware you're going. You think you're signing for, as you say, a Championship side, the league that you've played in, perhaps where you feel is where your career should really be going to. And then, is there anything that obviously then that doesn't come around that? Do I really want to be signing for that League One side again?
I think it probably didn't affect me in terms of like I knew like either way I was signing with Dunfermline, but I think over the piece it probably had a bigger effect on some of the boys that were already there. They were obviously massively gutted that they didn't get promoted, and I think that probably in the long term probably had a bigger effect on the club in terms of boys were probably really disappointed that they didn't go, and it maybe affected them that season because we obviously started the first half of the season really well, and then there was a big change, and then it was like a landslide after that. It all kind of went pretty poorly afterwards. That
how, as you touched upon there, how was it signing for, as you say, you're a Falkirk boy, you're signing for one of the biggest rivals?
it was kind of mad because obviously I'd been to a lot of Falkirk games and I'd been to Dunfermline games. I'd been at East End, like in the Falkirk end, and I was like, to be fair, by the by, I was like my decision was made. I was going there, like nothing could probably stop me. But then it was like you sign there, and then you started getting a few messages. A bit of the folk kind of like wind you up, like no way you've signed there and that. And to be fair, it was just like it's part and parcel of the game, and it was like if I went out in Falkirk on a Saturday night or that, there was a few boys giving me it, but I got used to it. As I said, it was like my decision was made early on the Dunfermline factor.
Was it Jim Jeffries you said?
Yeah, it was Jim. It was brilliant with me, and that's probably also one of the reasons that maybe the ship kind of started sailing the wrong way in terms of we were fully expected to go and win that league, and there was like pressure on us, but to the extent that people were just expecting us to just turn up and win every week, and anybody that's been involved in football knows it's not quite as easy as that. And from a fan's point of view, Dunfermline fans didn't expect to be in that league, didn't want to be in that league. So if you weren't winning, they were right on you, and that's fair. And people have to kind of live with that kind of expectation of being at clubs like that. But the manager ended up leaving kind of Christmas time, and we had just been on our like team weekend away. So it was like literally like Tuesday morning we went in and we were like, I think there's still a few worse for wear, and then JJ just came down and was like, no, that's me leaving, guys. I'm going to leave you now, and literally it was like, what's happened here? Like, why is it? It was a bit of a strange time for him to leave, and I don't think many wanted him to leave. And then just after that, we just kind of never really regained the kind of focus we had, and I'll probably never be able to put my finger on it, because the squad we had was good enough to go and do well in that league, but it just, as I said, for Christmas on, just started getting lower and lower on the table, and it's just probably something I'll never be able to kind of put my finger on.
What is it like being at a club, as you say, such a sleeping giant, and then you see a real stalwart of the game in Jim Jeffries leaving, a guy who's obviously shown a fair bit of confidence in you, signing you, envisaging obviously you as a championship player. What's that like? Like you say, it's all around Christmas time. You've still got a long 6 months to go to that season.
It's obviously difficult. Like, it was literally like news to everyone when it happened. We're just like, wow, I didn't really expect that to kind of to go. And obviously they didn't. They decided they weren't going to bring in like a kind of new manager. They were happy with Potts and Neil, it was Neil McCann that was there. And literally to this day, as I said, I'll just never be able to kind of put my finger on it. They signed new players. They tried to like strengthen us, but for one way or another, it just kind of did not happen. Like Neil McCann, well, Potts first of all was like one of the best coaches I've worked with. He was like the banter side and stuff. Like, he was absolutely brilliant with everybody. Like, I can't thank him enough for like the kind of time that I had with him, and Neil McCann as well, in terms of like he played at the highest of levels. His expectations and that were like that for me was why he played at such a high level, because he just was like win win win, and when it wasn't going well, we had players that were playing League One, and maybe people just didn't have the kind of same, I don't even know what kind of word to use, but they just didn't have that kind of heart that they were able to cope with that kind of pressure week in, week out. And to be fair, I think if you're going to go and play with like the Rangers and Celtic and stuff like that, you need to be able to take that pressure with you every single week, and he had that in abundance. And to be fair credit to him, like, I understand like why he expected that, because that was a life that he lived. Like, he was only allowed to win. Even like the tennis table, it was in the change room. Like, when he was on that, it was like he was like pouring his sweat, like doing everything to win a game of table tennis. And I was just like, this guy just loves winning. And I don't know if maybe the expectation from players at that level could put up with his like expertise.
Can you try and take as much from, as you say, his expertise from even a situation like that? It's quite a negative one, but can you really try and gain so much from a guy like McCann, who, as you say, has played at the top?
Absolutely. In terms of like what he achieved and where he played and stuff, it's like, because I hadn't been in the game long as well, like I hadn't came across like too many of these kind of names that I'd like watched on the TV and seen for Scotland and stuff like that. So he was actually like the first person I met when I walked in the door at Dunfermline. Like, he was just like, oh, nice to meet you, blah blah, like, come with me. And I was just like, wow, this is like a real kind of, it's a real life footballer kind of like. So for that side of it, like every minute, like him and Potts and even JJ the gaffer like spoke, I was like I was like, I need to get as much of this into my head as possible, because like they have played at the top level.
How do you move on from a season like that, the disappointment that all brought around?
That was probably one of the hardest that summers, that like the new manager came in and they'd offered me to go in and do like training and stuff, and I was like, I just played like 40 games. I can't just be seen as a guy that goes in and does a wee bit of training and stuff. I was like, no, this isn't really for me. And to be fair, I got a few phone calls for different clubs, and then like the Dumbarton one came up, and it was like, obviously I'd just got into like kind of full-time football, and then Dumbarton was obviously part-time at the time, and I thought, I don't know if this is a step backwards going part-time, but the chance to go and play in the championship, like, and have a right good go at it was like the mainstay in my head. And I was like, I'm probably going to have to go with this. But I still like swayed. And even when I was there at the very start, I questioned, like, I don't know if this is the right thing. Like, I don't know if this is where I should be going. And then, like, I think it was like that weekend, the fixture list came out, and it was like Hibs at home first, St Mirren away, and I was like, nah, this is like, again, another step up. This is like big teams, and I was like, this is where I want to be playing. And even though it was part time, I was like, I'm going to give kind of like full time lifestyle. I was going to go to the gym like the days that I would normally be training full time, and I was blasting it. And as I said, it was probably like one of the best decisions I made.
What sort of confidence can you take from being, obviously, the new manager came in, Stephen Aikens, and you're his first signing? Obviously, we spoke about how disappointing that season was at Dunfermline, but then does that just sort of rejuvenise that whole sort of optimism that, no, I'm doing something right?
Yeah, well, Stevie was actually like the manager at Stranraer, who was in League One at the time, obviously playing against Dunfermline, and they had an unbelievable season. I think they actually finished second at the time, or second or third, but like they literally like missed out on winning that league, but literally the last day of the season. And I kind of thought, if like he's seen me a lot of weeks, he was desperate to get me. As soon as he got that Dumbarton job, he was like on the phone, like, right, I'll make you my first sign, I'll make a big deal about this. This is how much I want you. And to be fair, like when somebody's after you like that, you just kind of think like this is the right place for me to go. And as I said, that he made it like a big thing that I was going to be there first sign and stuff like that. So to have that kind of confidence and from the manager, I think it probably gives you a wee bit of a spring in your step.
As you said, that fixture list comes out and it's your Hibs, it's your St Mirren's, big clubs, Premier League clubs. What's that like, obviously? Because as you say, you're still relatively young.
The thing is, like you're absolutely buzzing for these kind of games, and then you start looking down and you're thinking, like, where are we going to get our points? And I meant phoning my dad and saying, like, he was like, that's unbelievable playing. Like, I think it was like, as I said, Hibs, St Mirren, Queen of the South and stuff like that. And I was like, but Dad, where are we going to pick up points? Like, I didn't know how we were going to win games. But that was just like because of maybe the stature of these clubs. Like as I said, they were Premier League clubs, and they probably once again shouldn't have really been in that division. But that's where they found themselves. And as I said, we just kind of was like, right, we need to get ready for this season. And as I said, like every game was a big club.
Obviously, you're a defender, and then alongside there's the legend really in Darren Barr. How much can you really learn from him as again still being quite so young?
That was a big swaying point. See, when I seen him sign, I was like obviously I had been at Falkirk games and stuff where he was a captain and that, and I didn't know Daz. I'm now like very good friends with him, so I'm going to be careful what I say here. No, he's. But when he signed, I was like, that's an unbelievable signing. Like I just didn't expect to kind of get that kind of player profile into like a club like Dumbarton. But he once again, like as a lot of players that did sign, like Stevie had like said, like this is what we're going to be doing, this is the way we're going to do it. And I mean, Stevie gave everything to the club. He was like literally like we were getting pre-matches, we were suited and booted on a Saturday, like, and that was like at the stage where that had kind of gone from the game. So to have like Slaters in and stuff like that, like on your training night, getting suited up and that, you're like this is pretty decent. Like this is, although there was a lot of boys that moaned about it, said that I would rather a tracksuit and that, but like still to this day, I feel like that, like the suit was like everywhere you went, everybody was like, oh look how good this team they are, they look smart and stuff like that. And I think that just gives you that maybe that wee extra 5%. And as I said, like we were bringing in big player calibers, and we started the season pretty well. And as I said, it might just be the wee kind of fine touches that can make players give that wee bit extra 5%.
In stark contrast to the season before, how much did you enjoy your time there?
Oh, I loved every minute. It was obviously it's a smaller kind of club, but they were really like going against the grain of where they were in the league. And even the year before, they had a great season in the Championship. So I was kind of thinking, right, I need to be on my game every week kind of thing. And like week to week, we were playing big teams, and we had to be up for it every week. And I feel like that's what we kind of were.
Did you feel that as a club, you done really everything you could that season?
We had difficult times as well. There was times where like you as I said, you looked in that fixture list and you're thinking, I just don't know like where we're going to get our next result. And even as I said, Rangers were in the league as well, and you're just kind of looking like you seen maybe I think we had Rangers away, Hibs away, like was one of the like the double header, and I just got like every point was a prisoner. And like we had put out like the kind of quarters and stuff, and we knew we probably needed like the 40 points, so 10 points a quarter. But there was a couple of quarters we didn't obviously make the 10 points, so your next quarters it start adding up, and then you there is some difficult days. And obviously like being a part time, you were training at night and you're going in like cold wintry nights, and you're thinking, oh, I don't know if this is the answer, but you just literally had to pull the socks up and get through the kind of days. And as I said, we managed to stay up and quite comfortably in the end with a couple of games to spare. And if you were a Dumbarton fan and you told us the club would still be in the Championship, they would have been buzzing. So I think it was job done.
Obviously, you said that it was part time at that time as well. So what were you doing on the sidelines? Obviously, you'd been part time before then.
I was kind of like lucky enough that I was working like in a insurance company which was flexible. I was self-employed, so I could still commit a lot of time to being like a full-time footballer. So I was still going to gym 2 or 3 times a week. I was still like doing that kind of that side of it. So I was lucky I had that kind of flex that I was able to do so. And like there was boys obviously working 8 till 5 and then come to training and stuff, and I was like, wow, that's like fair play to them. They're proper grafting, whereas I was probably maybe no grafting just as hard as them, but they are the kind of unsung heroes that managed to get through like days at work. Even if there was like a midweek game, they were running away. They were literally eating anything for their dinner just to kind of get food into them and then like right into a game. And as I said, I was a wee bit luckier that I had that kind of wee bit of flexibility that I could still do my kind of training in the gym and stuff as well. So I was lucky in that side.
We spoke about the competitiveness of the league at that time and all these big clubs. How did then St Mirren come around?
I think it was probably just a wee bit of luck in terms that they were in the league. I'd played against them a few times in like cups and stuff, but obviously when they came into the league, they had a couple of tough years. The first season they were kind of middle of the pack, and in the second season they were doing like extremely poorly for the size of the club, and Jack Ross had taken over, and as I said, we had always done pretty well against them as well. So I think like wee things like that can add in your favour, that if a team does well, you might actually stand out a wee bit better as well. And obviously St Mirren stayed up on like the last day of the season, and I didn't really know much about it. Like I was kind of just content. My contract had run out at Dumbarton, and I was just like, I'll just kind of openly see what's kind of out there. And one day I just got a phone call from my agent Des, and he just said, St Mirren are want to sign you. What are you thinking? And I was like, wow, that's a big club. But Jack Ross was actually on holiday at the time, so I was kind of like had a couple of days to kind of like mull it over, and then so I actually kind of thought like, oh, I've got a couple of weeks here. I've got a bit of give to just kind of to work out what's going to be best here, because like Dumbarton were desperate to keep me. I did so many like couple of good years there. Like sometimes like change is change needed. You start to question that, but the relevance, the size of the club, of St Mirren and stuff like that. When like a couple of days, like Jack had phoned my agent, was like, right, it needs to be an aye or no. We need to get this done. And I was like, right, I'm like ready to commit to this. So I'd actually went and signed. Jack wasn't actually there. The gaffer wasn't actually there. But like all the paperwork and that, like because they're such a big club, like everything was dealt with. He didn't actually have to be there. I went with my agent, my dad, to the training ground, done it all. And mine just kind of like leaving Paisley, we nipped into Costa just to kind of like say like at least that's everything done. We can just chill now. And then like kind of got the message in for Jack Ross, just like buzzing to have you, blah blah. And I was just like, this is what it's all about. I've once again kind of got myself back from kind of part time to full time, and I think that a lot of the time that it's not quite as easy. Once you kind of go part time, I don't think there's many clubs kind of maybe come and sniff about you as much. But credit, I will give myself a bit of credit in terms of like I worked extremely hard to kind of say like I want to go back full time, I want to get another move, and as I said, I managed to do so to St Mirren.
How tough was it to leave, like say Dumbarton? Obviously your contract ran out, but it was one of the most enjoyable periods of your career.
I might like try to like phone Stevie and say, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like it's not like they kind of moments are kind of like hidden away from football that you've still got to like. A lot of people probably just said like, oh, I'll get my agent to phone him. I'm not dealing with him. But I got that kind of relationship with him. It like mentored me for a few seasons. He was tough on me, but he was great on me as well. But I just kind of thought, right, I'm just going to phone him. And this was literally like in the car park of St Mirren. I was like at their training ground at Ralston. I was just like Davey, just want to speak to you. He was like buzzing on the phone, like, oh, how are you getting on? And that. I was like, oh no, this is not how I really want to speak to you. I just said, look, I'm going to go and sign with St Mirren. And like, he obviously, being the Dumbarton manager, tried to like talk me out of it. But my mind was made up at that point, and I knew I was going. So I kind of just had to like say, like, I'm really sorry, but my mind's made up, and that was the kind of decision I made. But there was never like, that's probably one of the hardest kind of bits is telling these kind of people who have like put a lot of work into you that you're going to be leaving. But that is just kind of football.
You've left Aitken obviously, and then you go to work under Jack Ross. What was his vision sort of like? Obviously, you look at the players in the squad that was there, but he also added to, and he was building around something. You could see that there was a change happening at St Mirren. As you said, there was the disappointments from the season before, but there was a real sense that this was going to be a season of change.
Yeah, massively. As soon as I walked in, like, in terms of, a lot of people probably thought if they get the top four, they'd be quite happy because they like what they'd done the season before. But like, as soon as the first meeting hit, like, we were doing a lot of stuff on like where do we want to finish, what do the boys think we can finish, and all that. And like, literally every day was like, top. That's it. That's the only place we're allowed to finish. And to be fair, like, Jack Ross had just let us all do that. So like, we had decided where we were going to, like, that is the objective. And that didn't just come from him, that was like the players' point of view as well. But we had people like Steve McGinn and Lewis Morgan and stuff like that who were like right up there, and they that was the standards they were expecting to be at St Mirren. So obviously they had a disappointment, but these were the kind of standards that they were expecting. And as I said, like, right from the off, like, that was quietly the objective, and we just kind of started the season pretty brightly, and we knew like that was the goal.
Obviously, you singled those guys out, and Lewis Morgan and Stephen McGinn. Could you see even from that stage in that league, in that side, that they were destined for bigger things? Obviously, Morgan's now out in America, and Stephen McGinn's riding high at Hibs.
To be fair, like, I didn't know. Obviously, McGinn was like a well-known face, and his brothers were about the game and stuff like that. So I hadn't really heard much about, like, obviously Morgie. So the first kind of training session, we were like doing a bit of training, blah blah. It's like pre-season, so you weren't like overly like doing much with the ball and stuff. So, and then I just seen this guy like with Morgie. I was like, I don't know much about him. But to be fair, like, I had like number 10 in that on his training kit, and I thought, oh, he must be like well liked if he's kind of getting the number 10 in that this season. And he put like 10 balls down across the like 20-25 yards, and literally right and left footed them like stanch kind of. And I was just like, oh my days, like, what have we got here? This is like hidden gem, because like, I literally, and no disrespect for him, he was still a young boy, and I was just like, I didn't expect that for him. And I was like, well, that's why he's got a number 10 in his back. So but like, the confidence was just oozing out of him from like pre-season. And obviously he's got a couple of decent moves off the back of that.
It's done alright, hasn't it? Another hidden gem in that side was Gavin Riley. And are you surprised that his career maybe not kicked off the way that everyone really expected? Because he had a tremendous career at St Mirren.
I actually like travelled in, so it was car sharing with Gavin. So because he was like kind of Edinburgh way, we always kind of met in the morning and stuff. So he had obviously a couple of difficult seasons at Hearts before that. I think it was Dunfermline. He had a wee bit of a dry patch as well. So he was like literally like in a similar situation, knew that he kind of had to hit the ground running. And to be fair to Gavin, he done everything he could to be like the best finisher in that league, like constantly after training, out doing training drills and different, like, off his own back. And to be fair, once he started scoring, there was like no stopping him that season. And then on the flip side, obviously he took the chance to go down to England. He probably admit himself, it's not kind of worked out just as he would have hopefully liked, but now he's back up the road at Livingston. He's probably hoping to kind of kickstart his career again. He's at a decent age that he still can do so.
Talking about Livingston, how did that one all come around then?
It was all a bit weird, because obviously I'd played quite a number of games in that first 6 months with St Mirren, and like, I was relatively happy. And then there was like a period of like December where I started kind of find myself on the bench and not getting used as much. And then like kind of I went to speak to Jack, and he kind of said like, look, this is where you found yourself. Like, no kind of fault your own. You've done well when you're playing, because like we hadn't lost many games as well. So like, from my point of view, like, I felt like I should still be playing, where maybe the manager sees obviously different, and that's fine. I've not got a problem with that, because at the end of the day, it's his job on the line. And he had kind of picked a couple of obviously different faces, and I started just getting a wee bit frustrated. And because I had started football so late as well in terms of like professional game, I literally just wanted to play every week. So there was that kind of side that I was just getting a bit frustrated. And then we went into a game at Queen of South, and then I was like in myself, I was like, I'm going to play this game. And then I got the kind of, we got down there, I wasn't playing, it was just like another dig at myself, and I just kind of felt like, I need to kind of go and see him and find out like where I stand. And to be fair to him, like he was like, no, you're no leaving, you're not going anywhere. And he's like, I like you about the place, I like you in the squad, and that. So I then like kind of walked away, felt like I'm just going to like have to just dig this out. But then like Livingston at this point were like putting a bit of pressure on, like we really want to sign you, and they were going quite well that season considering like they weren't really expected to be up there. So I had just went in again to Jack and just kind of was like, I just want to go and play football. And to be fair to him at this point, he understood where I was in my career and what I obviously explained, that I just want to play week in, week out. And I felt like at Livingston there was going to be a better chance of that. And it's one of the kind of ones that obviously I'd played enough games, I got like the winners medal at St Mirren and all that as well. So like I'd played a big part, and they kind of like, at the end of the season, even though I was a Livingston player and we were going well, like you start to see like the St Mirren win the league, you see all the pictures and all that, and you're thinking that like I could quite easily just stayed there and just like seen out the season and been in the photos and stuff. But just for me, I couldn't really accept that in terms of I just wanted to play, and at St Mirren at that point, I didn't think I was going to do so. And as I said, Livingston were barging the door down. It was getting late on in the transfer window, I think, as well, and we were just like, no, we're just going to. I just kind of said to him, like, I want to go now, and to be fair, he kind of said, right, I respect that, and I respect where you are in your career, and yeah, I'll let it happen.
What was that dynamic sort of like? As you say, obviously, at the end of it all, you did still get a winner's medal with St Mirren, but you're then joining guys who are ultimately rivals in the sense that Livingston, as you say, they were pressing so high up that table as well.
It was quite a mad situation because the boys were like, oh, like, are they that good? Are they you're asking all these kind of questions because obviously we're one of the rivals. And to be fair, but at Livingston there was nothing really to worry about in terms of like what the rest were doing, because they were literally just, we were going so well ourselves. To be fair, the boys that were there started the season like excellently, got themselves in a good place, and then the manager Hoppy just kind of phoned me and said like, we're going to add you. And he had another 3 or 4 names that he was like, I'm going to sign these guys. And I was like, if you sign these guys, we're going to have a chance. And to be fair, like the team just literally kicked on. And it was probably like, it was strange because obviously my family had a wee bit of, obviously the bad news, my sister had taken on well. And like me, my partner, Eleanor, were literally going to like the hospital like every day this period. Like I literally didn't have a life away from home, like constantly thinking about all of that. But like my getaway time was at the club Livingston, and to be fair, they were like unbelievable with me in terms of, at that point they took me out the team. They obviously got the decision right, but I obviously thought, I still want to be playing. I wish they were playing me, but looking back, I understand fully why they did so. But the likes of like John Hartson, Cheb, the kit man and stuff, they were like every day asking me how I was, like, and to be fair, like Big John had obviously been through like pretty traumatic stuff in his own life, and for him to like take even 5 minutes every day to just come and pull me and say like, Gregor, how's things, how's the family, is everyone doing all right? I was just like speechless in terms of how a man that's been through all of that can just like still have that kind of heart to come and look after everybody else. And to be fair, like I've always kind of said, like that guy is a heart of gold.
I was going to say, what is the influence of John Hartson in that team, and obviously on yourself, and how do you really, as you say, there's a lot of personal stuff going on, and perhaps it was the best move that Livingston obviously excluded you instead of you having to exclude yourself, but how hard is it to separate both obviously the playing and then what's going on in your personal life?
Like I think like the kind of months were just like a blur, like in terms of, I mean, I look back like literally travelling to Livingston back home, me and Iona would travel, like my sister was in the hospital in Edinburgh and stuff, so it was literally like every day she was working, then we were going through, and literally like, we gave up, and obviously we would do it like every minute of the day, but we gave up a lot of time, like literally to just constantly try and be there anywhere we could. So there was like that side of things, and then like to be fair, at training and that, like the boys were amazing in terms of like what a group of boys. Like it's probably like just the funniest kind of atmosphere, and like it was like disbelief that we were doing so well as well, because like they just obviously been promoted, and like there was just like no stopping us, and it was just like a crazy time. But that was like my get out, and to be fair, like because we were in such a good place, winning most weeks and stuff, like that was the only time I could like I just like football, as I say, football can relax your mind, and that's it did do so.
Is it tough entering, obviously, like you say, a new team in Livingston with all of this, so obviously riding with you, obviously what was happening in your home life, like you're walking into a new environment, and then you're coming with all this as well, though.
It was obviously difficult at the time, but as I said, it was just that much of a kind of blur that I probably like didn't even realise everything was going on. It was just like, but as I said, there was a lot of kind of like even Matt Hoppy, the manager, David Martindale, who's obviously now the manager, was good with me, and I've obviously at the time I thought, like I don't know why they're not playing me here, like but the decision was obviously taken out of my hands, and rightfully so, looking back, because like the league was that tight, and the promotion, like the playoff spots were that tight. Like I miss, like if my mind wasn't on it and I've maybe conceded a goal, then that could have been like the difference between a couple of places in the table and stuff. So looking back on that, it was a no-brainer for their point of view. But I don't know, it's never no pleasing me when you're not playing.
You mentioned Martindale there, and there's two guys obviously from that Livingston time that I did want to ask you on, who are doing so well, and it is David Martindale, and the other one's obviously Declan Gallagher.
I like Davey, like literally, there's nobody that can like, in terms of like obviously like where he's came from and his past and stuff is by the by. Like he's obviously had a lot to get over with all of that, and fair play, like he's done the rehab to do so, and it was just like, it was a mad deal. Obviously, when I was there, I'm thinking he'll never be the manager. Like there was nobody that would probably tell him, but the amount of work he done, like literally, I wouldn't be surprised if he was doing the Twitter on like a Saturday as well. Like he literally done every job like out there, and he's literally built the dream for Livingston Football Club, because since he's been in there, like there's been a massive turnaround, and he's got a lot of credit to take for that. And to be fair, he's probably due. He's being the manager. Like there was no denying he had a lot to say at the time as well, because he had gained that kind of right by what he had done at the club. But like overall, like even the run he went on last year when he was, this season when he was kind of interim manager and stuff, he's rightfully got his go at it.
And then obviously Declan Gallagher, sorry.
Declan's obviously just kicked on like massively. He was, to be fair, he was a good player. Like for a number of years, he maybe just had a couple of issues that kind of maybe stopped him getting a move in the past. But as soon as he kind of got to the Premier League, he just kind of made that kind of move forward, and he's never looked back since. And to be fair to him, when he's played for Scotland and stuff like that, he's been an absolute standout when he's played as well. And it's like, and to be fair, he's been like a kind of not older boy, but kind of mid-age table, where he's maybe not been anywhere near a Scotland team, and next thing he's probably going to go and play in the Euros with Scotland, which is like unbelievable turnaround for him, and fair play to him, because as I said, in the games, like in the playoff games for Scotland, that he was absolutely magnificent. So no, he deserves everything that he gets.
In that crazy season, as you say, you walk away with a winner's medal with St Mirren. How do you look back on that, playing for probably the two best sides in the Championship?
It's probably a bit like, everybody kept saying there'll probably be a like quiz question or something like that, sports quiz question in the future. There's probably not that many that have obviously got a winner's medal and like got through the playoffs, but as I said, I was just lucky enough to be at two like really good clubs, and just a right good couple of teams in terms of like the players on the pitch, and the management squads that were both like destined for the top. And to be fair, they've both had successful times since.
And you move on to Greenock Morton again with a tremendous manager, and then Jim Duffy.
It was actually Ray McKinnon.
Oh, was it?
Jim had just left. Ray McKinnon was the one that took me in. So to be fair, like Livingston, they had said to me like there'd be a contract there if I wanted to stay and stuff. But once again, like they kind of said like we're bringing in. Obviously, they didn't expect that season to go and get like promoted, but the players, the calibre of players that they maybe wanted to go to the Premiership was now like a much bigger picture, and they kind of said like, look, there's a contract there, it's your decision, but like we can't guarantee you like game time. Like you can work hard and get in, and but where you are in the pecking order, like by the start of the season, like I can't actually tell you that this time, and for me, as I said earlier, like that was too much a risk for me, and I wanted to go and play at a club where I knew I had a chance of starting the season, and then after that it's up to myself. And as I said, I had quite a few offers, obviously, in terms of because of the season I kind of had. And to be fair, I'm not really a player that's always wanted to like jump about different teams. It's just the way Scottish football kind of is at the moment in terms of like the short-term deals, and that's just to kind of look after the clubs. And like in the past, a lot of players have maybe played for 1, 2, 3 clubs, but this day and age, like the kind of players are now finding themselves at 6, 7, 8 clubs just because like the contracts are so small in terms of like lengthwise, and if somebody else comes and wants you and offering more money and maybe at a better stadium or a better place or a better league, then it's hard to kind of to say no to.
Have you found hopping around the country a little bit challenging?
Like yes and no, but as I said, I've never been one that I've never seen myself kind of saying like, oh, I'll be moving like this many times, and it's not really something that I've wanted to do. It's just like circumstances, and as I said, like the Scottish Games in a place where they can't really offer 2, 3, 4 year deals. There's the odd person that gets it, but like in terms of like top end clubs will maybe be able to do so, but kind of lower Premiership, Championship down, it's just like that's no there anymore, which maybe was in the past, and that's just literally because of money, and clubs can't risk doing that. So there has been a wee bit of like that kind of movement of clubs, and I've always kind of tried to make sure that I would better myself and move into these clubs. So I've never really had a moment where I've regretted any of these kind of moves.
So we're talking about the moves, then moving back home, was that just impossible to turn down?
It was a mad season at Morton. Obviously, like just to kind of like fill you in terms of like Ray was obviously there for first couple of games, and we were top of the league at the time. I think it was the first 3 games, so I think we were on like 7 points out of 9. We're top of the league, and we had like a genuine and this probably came from like the season before as well. Like I was looking a bit like we are going to be up there again, and I was like really confident, and the players were like we got off to a good start, and the players were like really up for it, and you could just say like there was a buzz about the place. And to be fair, Ray and Daz were like unbelievable. This is the first time I was working on it. I was like, these guys are brilliant, like really good, and they just had like the place in such a good place, and even I remember like the day they ended up leaving, like the chairman had been at the training ground that day, and like training was unbelievable. Like the place was just buzzing about, and I actually looked over at the chairman and I kind of thought, he's probably thinking jackpot, we've like this is going to be it, we've finally kind of got this team set up. And then like that day was the maddest. Like driving home, and I think it was like Jim McAllister, the captain, just put in the group chat like, I don't know if you have heard this, but seemingly the managers at Falkirk, he's maybe getting like the gig at Falkirk. We were like, no chance, he's probably got a contract in that here. And like literally like a couple of hours later, Daz, the manager, had put in a message in the group chat just saying like things have changed. They've had a chance to go to Falkirk and they're going to take it. And we were just like, are they just like, geez, like where does that leave us? And generally like wee swings like that can like just be a massive factor. And we ended up going to Partick next game. Like to be fair, Morton fans came out in their numbers. Were like, you would think we would won the cup, the way they were like celebrating us coming out just for the warm up, and it was like unbelievable, like the togetherness and stuff. But we ended up getting beat for Partick that day, and then it was just like the momentum kind of just started to slip. So it was just kind of like strange like that. So later on in the season, we had played Falkirk a few times, and obviously Ray had took me to Morton. So I started hearing a wee bit of wind that Falkirk were were obviously interested. It was like a kit man a couple of times said, I think they're going to make an offer. There's been an email in saying that they want to sign you. So to be fair, I was just like grounded. I was like, look, I'm just going to see out this season and take it from there. And we played Falkirk. I think it was like maybe 4 games to go, and it was literally like we probably had to beat Falkirk to kind of, or we would have been like maybe down there. But obviously, like probably like rightly or wrongly, like Falkirk had a couple of emails had been into Morton saying like, look, we're going to start speaking to Gregor and stuff like that. And I was just like, I just need to stay focused. And I'd had a couple of texts with Falkirk players just saying like, you sure you want to play against us next week and all that. I was like, wow, is this really happening? But to be fair, like I've never been like that in my life. I was like, I need to just make sure that I win with Morton on Saturday, and obviously it didn't turn out too well for Falkirk in the end. They ended up getting relegated, and to be fair, like I knew, as once again, like I was like, if this comes up, that I'm going there. My mind was made up, and even if they were going to League One, like the manager he didn't really have to sell the club in terms of like he'd already like I loved working under him. I knew I would like to work under him again, and then like the whole Falkirk thing like I just set up nicely, and then there was a kind of added factor that he seen me as like an experienced player and had spoke about like I'd possibly be captain. It was something like he kind of looked at me as, and to be fair, it was a no-brainer at the end of the day, and it was kind of great time for me just being that kind of local boy, and like when I got that kind of deal over the line, it was just like it was a different kind of day altogether.
Obviously, like say you get that deal over the line, and then you do eventually get to wear that armband up for your boyhood club. What's that sort of feeling like?
It was weird because like he kind of said to me, he kept like hinting at me, and he was like do you want to be captain today in the friendlies? Like kind of like winding me up, because he knew that it would obviously be a massive thing for me. And to be fair, there was loads of experience in the club already, so I wasn't like giving it like, oh, I'll definitely be it, but I was just like, I would love to, Gaffer, like you know what this would mean to me. And it was just one day, so I was like captain for all the kind of friendlies, and but I had never actually like said like this is going to be your role and stuff. And then one day I'd actually walked back in after training, and there was like loads of media guys there, and I thought, oh, somebody must be doing the media today. And he just pulled me and he just like said like, you need to go and do the media. I was like, oh, just another kind of usual kind of media day kind of. So like pulls me and gives me like the strip and just the armband, and he says like, congratulations, you're going to be like club captain and stuff. And I was like absolutely buzzing. I didn't even have like that kind of time for it to sink in. I was like right out to the kind of media duties and that, and they were like firing all these questions to me, and I was like literally a wee bit starstruck in terms of like, this is actually happening. And it was probably one of the proudest days in football in terms of like what it would mean to me, and to be fair, it was probably good management from him to do so.
What's it like, obviously, like telling your family, telling your friends, like say you're the local boy, and then you're club captain?
Because I'd got like all the kind of praise and that for getting like the actual move and signing and that, so a lot of people probably didn't expect this next bit as well. So like that was just kind of like the icing on the cake for me, and for a lot of people, they were just like, that I've literally never had so many messages and stuff like that just like literally for school teachers to all ex like boys club coaches, and like they're all the kind of folk that you can forget about, but they actually probably played a massive part in my life to get to that point. So like obviously I took a bit of time just to get back to all of them, and obviously like my family and Iona and my partner and that just had said like, you'd worked so hard to get there, so they were proud of me, and as I said, it was like a monumental day for me.
How did you reflect back on that time at Falkirk?
It's probably difficult in both kind of ways. Like nobody can ever take away like the moments that I've done for that club, and like I literally done everything I could on and off the park. Like there was a lot of the club as a whole like do a lot of stuff off the pitch, and I gave up a lot of time to, I kind of said like, I'll commit to this. And even if you've got Glasgow boys coming to training and stuff like that, if they'd asked them to kind of do the extras, I'd say like, look, I'm kind of local about here, I'll do it for you and stuff like that, just so that to try and keep the camp happy. And as I said, nobody can ever take that kind of moment away from me, and like wearing the club badge and the armband, like that's forever and like in me, and I'll never that'll never be taken away from me. But obviously there's the flip side. I'm obviously disappointed how it ended, and that's probably just something I'll never kind of speak about till the time's right. But all in all, like, it was a difficult season in terms of we were so close, and then the COVID situation happened. Like, you'll never ever tell me that the way that they were, like, the league was finished was right. I'll always deny that, because it was literally a point in it, and then next thing is there was no playoffs, no like promotion. Like, we'd worked so hard, and I feel from the outside like a lot of people will just be like, oh, hard luck, you know what I mean? Like, but in this job as well, like, there was like bonus, like, people live like day to day for these kind of bonuses and all of that. Like, we put a lot of effort to get to where we were, and like everything was just taken away from us. And as I said, I'm still confident in the team that we would actually got promoted if that was winning the championship, winning League One or through the playoffs. But as I said, like, both of the kind of moments were taken away from us, and that's kind of difficult, because obviously I had envisioned a lot of kind of images being that kind of local captain and stuff. Like, that could have been like an unbelievable moment for me, and I'll use it in regretfully in the right manner throughout the rest of my career, and it'll always be something that I'll use to push me on.
Obviously, it is so raw right now, and that is totally understandable. So, how do you move on? Obviously, you get that move to Queen of the South where you are just now. How hard is it though to, as you say, if it's raw now, it'd have been even rawer just a matter of months ago?
I think because, like, there's like so much. Obviously, as I said, I wouldn't speak about it now. There's so many kind of things happened that, in terms of like, I obviously expected to be there much longer than I was. So it was like really out the blue. It wasn't like kind of one of the moments you say like, I might be away for this club, or even in the past when I'd moved on for other teams, I kind of knew there was things happening. But this is literally like the whole COVID situation, the whole like the way the league ended. We literally had no idea what was going on, and it was literally like a FaceTime call that ended like my career there. And to be fair, like, as I was saying earlier, like, it was very raw at the time, and there was then a point where I could probably have just said that enough's enough, but that's no kind of the way I am, and I wanted to be back in the championship at minimum. And at that point where I was going to Queens, it was probably the most offers I've ever had, like, coming off at the back end of a season. I literally had like a lot to pick from, like championship clubs, League One, League Two, and then we all kind of know about the Lothian leagues. I've now got a couple of big hitters like the East Kilbrides and the Kelties and that, and there was different kind of contracts getting me front me from all angles. So I had to take a wee bit of time to say, right, where do I want to be? Because I could quite easily just say, enough's enough, I'll just go and play where it doesn't really mean as much to me, and on a Saturday, and that would probably been the easy way out. But as I said, I made a point that I was going to go back to the championship and play as many games as possible, and to be fair, I have done so this season.
How are you enjoying this season? Obviously, it's been another crazy one at that, but how are you finding it?
It's definitely different. It's different to the extent that on a match day, like, you can't explain how much the kind of fans are passionate for the side and stuff helps you. That's been a big loss for all the clubs, even when you kind of see the both the kind of rivalness, the fierceness. I think it's probably edged away to an extent. No from the fault of the players. It's just you get that wee extra from the side on a Saturday and stuff. But in terms of, I've been really lucky that I've been in the championship, because obviously League One and League Two were ended for a long period. I would probably not been training or playing just as much. So a massive kind of point this year was obviously I was making my 300th appearance, like, in professional appearance. And obviously, as I said earlier, at 22, if you had told me by the time you hit 30 you've played 300 games, I would probably say that's not possible. So if you add it all in, I've been quite lucky in terms of that I've managed to go to a championship team and play every week, and that's been a massively appealing.
We spoke about it kind of all throughout, but it's been really highlighted this season. What's the competitiveness like in the championship? Obviously, like you see, you've got Hearts and you've got Dundee, sides that really shouldn't simply be in that league.
it's like literally must be a Coupons nightmare in terms of, I don't know when anybody would like pick a game in that league. You don't know what's going to happen. And like just a couple of weeks ago, we obviously went to Tynecastle Hearts, and obviously got 3 points. And like I think like after the game, like I think there's even a couple of videos like we were like jumping about as if we had won a cup and stuff like that. That's what it means to us, because these are like big clubs that no many football players will be lucky enough to go and get 3 points at. And to be fair, obviously like the only thing that would have helped it is if there was fans there and to kind of witness like what we had done. And but as I said, like week to week, you can literally trust no other team. You've got to look after yourself, and the teams that are up against each other are literally taking points off each other left, right and centre. So you literally need to take care of yourself. And we found it obviously the hard way at the start of the season. We were really struggling. 4 points at Christmas. You're thinking, geez man, where are we going to get another result? But we've massively turned it round, and that's a credit to the players, because we were, as I said, in a bit of a dark place.
How's it looking going forward? Do you still reckon you've got a few years left in the legs?
Absolutely. So I turned 31 this year, so I still see myself 5-6 years. And as I said, it would be easy for myself just to kind of depart down to these kind of like lower clubs and stuff like that. But that's not really in my thoughts going forward. I want to keep playing at a high level, and as I said, I reached a big milestone this season, and I just want to kind of now hit the next one and keep going like that. As I said, there's plenty of life left in me, and I'm really enjoying my football still, so that's a big thing.
Well, Gregor, congratulations on your 300 appearance, which you were captain in.
You
were captain in that game. But thank you so much for joining us.